So today on the YouTube channel, we're going to be talking farm country and hill country with Shannon. And really I was able to pick his brain as a guy that consistently kills in both types of habitats and kills really good bucks. So I think this is going to be an interesting conversation. So let's roll some footage. So today Shannon wanted to break down a little bit of some of the hunting you've been doing in farm country and more of like your big woods, big timber habitats. You're a guy local to the area but has done well in both habitats, and that's something that I think a lot of people are seeking, where they've maybe had success in one style or the other and they want to get better at the other. Just trying to get more bucks on the ground. And so I think I was going to shoot you a handful of scenarios and questions, really kind of comparing the two and your thought processes there. Does that sound like a plan?
Sounds like a plan, man.
All right, well, being that it is scouting or shed hunting scouting season, what do you look for as far as a habitat feature in, say, the big woods and then farm country, where you maybe are finding a higher percentage of the sheds you find in the off season?
When it comes to sheds and like ag fields and farm stuff like that, I walked so many miles and I've found that I pretty much, especially on like the hard winters, I waste time if I'm anywhere near beans. Like, it's all picked cornfields, picked bean fields are almost a waste for me.
Okay.
Now, if it's like a really, really mild winter, then you'll find them occasionally in bean fields and stuff like that. But it's going to be thick cover net next to a cornfield. So it's going to be like a cornfield next to some thick bedding. Okay. Is where I'm going to find those at. Walked way too many beans, wood lots next to beans, and came up.
Just doesn't seem to produce for you.
Nope.
Okay. What about, do you spend a lot of time in the timber, or would you say majority of your sheds come from the actual ag fields in farm country?
It's like a lot of buffer strips, to be honest with you, where they're like, they're in the, like a washout or whatever. They'll sit there and bed in that little washout or that buffer strip.
Hill country, big timber stuff, where are you finding the majority of your sheds?
To be honest with you, I never really knew the name for it. Until I started watching a lot of podcasts and kind of like you guys and a couple other dudes, but I never knew the name for that, what they called that military crest.
Okay.
I never knew like the technical name. I always knew it like the first bench off the top.
Okay.
And I was just like, that's usually where I find a lot of my sheds is that, or like I'll try to find the thickest cover I can get in.
Okay.
I'll find a bed in there, and they'll usually be in the beds.
Okay, so either thick habitat or on that military crest where the bucks probably have that visual advantage.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
now big timber.
In the off season, when you do your scouting as well as shed hunting, the scouting aspect, is it more important, would you say, in farm country or big woods environments?
Big woods environments is more trail cameras for me. And the farm country, I physically scout more. Okay. Like, I'll glass from miles and miles away.
Uh-huh. But I'm just talking just off season wise.
You
still are on the glass?
I'm still on the glass.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I have trail cameras, but to be honest with you, in farm country, they summer too far. They shift. Yeah. You know what I mean? And like I said, and it's all, rotation of crops. They're not going to be a lot of corn when the beans are green, and then in the winter they're going to be away from the beans, they're going to go to the corn. Okay. So that's how I'm scouting. It's mainly glass. I got 2 spotting scopes just for if I can't get one, the other one's going to reach out further.
Well, it's funny because I do have a note here, and you and I talk in the summer because you are one of the guys that I know that does a lot of glassing. What's your ideal glassing setup, and do you glass in hill country, big wood stuff?
That's a tricky kind of thing. I was on a lease this past year, the past 3 years, and I was able to glass there. Like, yeah. I found a way to glass. Yeah. So, yes.
Occasionally you can if a property has let's say like a gas line running through it.
Correct. Yeah.
Or power lines sometimes will do
clear
that. Clear cuts. Yeah. So if you can do it, you'll still glass big timber.
I would much rather go. On the farm that we were just on, I seen more deer and was able to pattern more deer by glassing than I was with a trail camera.
Yeah, I've seen the video files.
And I've sat there and I flooded this place with trail cameras, and I'd be like, oh, he's going to be on every, I'm going to have so many trail camera pictures of these deer, and I'd have none. But every time I'd go there, I know exactly where he'd be, and it's all, I would be off 20 yards with the trail camera or 30 yards with the trail camera.
Okay.
You know, and I don't like taking my trail cameras and going in there and pushing them off. I like to stay back and hopefully get them coming to me and not get a camera in their bed, per se.
Okay.
I try to less pressure.
Now, I know you do a lot of glassing in farm country. What do you think is a key or something that you feel you do really well? Because you find a lot of deer through the glass. Is it time? Is it, you look at conditions, you have certain things you really think you do a little bit better than, say, even 10 years ago when you started glassing more and more?
High points.
Okay.
Like, I dress
of them?
Yeah, I most people will look at like farm ground and they'll just be like, it'll look flat to them.
Guilty.
But you gotta, it's not really flat. It's, you know, there'll be a high point.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and if you're able to get to a high point and then get on top of a truck or get on top of a vehicle, and I mean, even if you're on the road, I'll drive down the road and I'll look at a road that you think is flat and I'll be like, there's the highest point in the road. And as soon as you're like, I'll drive up and down a road like 3 or 4 times just looking for an angle. Like sometimes, I mean, you know him, Kyle was with me one time when we were driving, and I just happened to look back over my shoulder out the window, and it was this perfect angle through this tree where I could get this like glimpse down the road, or down like a corn row and a bean field that like were side by side, and I watched 5 bucks come out of it.
Oh wow.
And 3 of them were hammers.
Okay.
And I'm looking through like 2 trees over this person's house back down this row.
Sure.
And it almost looked like I was like creeping on these people, but I was looking like over their house, and so it was just the perfect angle on the road. So it's
what kind of distance was the vehicle to the spot you were glassing? Just a
half a mile.
Okay, so
half mile, 3/4 mile. Yeah.
Yeah. See, that helps somebody like myself. I don't think spatially I had that perfect visual until you said that.
Yeah.
All right, let's you had mentioned earlier food plots in big timber habitats can be really nice. Yeah. What is your go-to food plot for a big timber habitat where maybe you can't get equipment in or the soil isn't as good as, say, some of the ag stuff? What's your go-to food plot of choice in those?
I'm still in the learning stages of the whole food plot thing, really. Mm-hmm. I think it's always a progression on that. So far, I mean, unless soil conditions that I've seen are absolutely perfect, like I'm not having a lot of luck with like brassicas and them late season things. Like they're not hitting them like I think they should. Now I've had buddies that they demolish them.
Sure.
But my thing is clover. They'll just smash the clover all year long.
Okay. What about in farm country as far as do you have a food plot of choice, or is it still clover?
Still clover. Okay. It's clover throughout the board.
Okay.
But like I said, I'm still trying to work out the kinks on that, like brassicas and stuff like that. So soybeans too. If you can get some soybeans to still be standing in ag field that they couldn't get to, that's fire.
Okay. So I'm going to paint a picture scenario, and I need, you are chasing a buck in hill country. You have the information you needed. Let's just if you could pick the perfect stand site and time of year, what is your ideal setup that you feel like, oh yeah, if I get a deer I like to chase in hill country, big wood stuff, I'd generally kill more of my bucks around this certain scenario, time of year. Do you have anything that you favor in hill country?
It's going to be early, and it's going to be on acorns. Okay. It's going to be like just an acorn field. I mean, not field, but acorn
opening week, or do you kind of like maybe that first week of October?
It all just depends when those trees are dropping. Mm-hmm. I found that out in the last 3 years where I was on this farm I was on down south, and like you would think it'd be good, but then they'd wipe them out. Okay. By like, it was all depend like. I would think I was texting you, and the first time I sat there, I seen a target buck, had him at 50 yards, and I just couldn't draw back on him. Yeah. And after that, the acorns were pretty much gone. Yeah. And so was he.
Evening post or morning post for?
I'm always evening.
Yep. Okay. Now I'm gonna flip the script. Farm country. What do you feel like in the bucks you've killed? Is there any sort of themes as far as stand locations, type, and time of year? Do you have anything that kind of is your go-to?
I've been like a late season guy.
I kind of thought so.
You know, this year killing a deer on the November 2nd was a little different for me. And the other thing is I really like to hunt. So me getting done early, it's like, for this year, it's a blessing this guy's at my house to finish. But in normal years, I'd rather be hunting. I'd rather be grinding it out.
Okay. Okay. If you look back at the last several years of shooting bucks in both types of habitats, is there some sort of sticking moment or learning lesson, something that you felt like changed or bettered your hunting in those kind of environments that just stuck with you and really helped you feel?
Just time. The more time you put in, and the more. I played a lot of ball when I was younger, and a lot of travel softball and everything else. And when I was splitting that time up, I wasn't doing as well. You know, but when I gave that up and, you know, my son was born, I could take him everywhere. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I was able to scout more. I was able to do all that stuff, and it's just when you can,
that cumulative effect just adds up.
Correct. Like, and to be honest,
does that apply in both, you feel?
Oh, absolutely. Oh yeah. When you split them up, I mean, you would sit there and I'd go down there, and the trails would change from spring to winter and stuff like that, you know, and then just watching how the deer move, you know, it's just definitely time. Yeah. The more time you can, I feel that with anything, the more time you put into something, you're going to get better results.
Tony Peterson and Jesse Coots both have spoke to that when they stopped playing a little bit of golf and a little bit of softball, and all they kind of said, I want to really focus in on deer hunting. It really started helping their game out, and those guys have been doing it at a high level for a long time. Oh, cool. I think that's going to conclude this week's YouTube video. I appreciate you jumping on here, and we're going to record a podcast. So if if you like what you heard here, we're going to do a little bit more in depth on the Almighty Antler. So he's got some big ones. Definitely want to pick his brain about that.